Apex Legends is a kinda sequel to the Titanfall universe. Now, me being an absolute buffoon, I didn't play Titanfall 2 until this year. Well, maybe not the year that you're watching it, but in the glorious year of
2022.
Now, the basic premise of Titanfall 2 is that not only humans fall, but Titans fall too. Really hoping no one else has made that joke. Now, the actual premise of Titanfall 2 is that there is this war going on, and your superior fucking dies like a nerd, so he gives you his giant robot, and now you use said giant robot in a mix of some serious parkour mechanics to absolutely annihilate the enemy. The main antagonists you will fight throughout are the boring IMC, and the cool kids, appropriately named the Apex Predators. Through the game, you kill every member except for the one that goes on to create the Apex games. This fucker right here. Now you may be asking, the Apex games? Well, it's another Battle Royale, of course, because we always need more Battle Royale games, because it's just such an unappreciated genre in the gaming culture, and just overall we need more of them. Something unique about Apex is you get a pick from characters called legends, and that's when the topic of this video comes in. Mr. Elliot DeWitt, aka Mirage, the man himself, one of the greatest fictional characters of all time, my favorite video game character of all time, and of course, the master of bamboozling. Okay, I might have over-exaggerated some of that, but you know, I gotta hype it up a little bit, you know. But what exactly am I hyping up? Did you not read the title of the video? It's pretty self-explanatory. Did you just watch this video? Did you just click this video without reading the title? Who does that? What kind of psychopath are you? If you are a psychopath and for some reason did that, it's the complete history and lore of Mirage in the video game Apex Legends. So, Elliot DeWitt was born to Richard Witt and Evelyn Witt in the year 2703. That feels weird to say. His father was an amateur inventor, while his mother was a famed holographic engineer who actually worked with the previously mentioned boring IMC. He was also the youngest of 4 brothers, and I feel so bad for their parents that they had to deal with that much testosterone and teenage angst. In 2710, still feels weird, Elliot was 7 years old and snuck into the Thunderdome in order to watch Cuban Blisk's final fight. Cuban Blisk is the man who created the Apex games, and I'm putting that in now because I realized I didn't say his name when I called him a When Elliot Witt turned 14, his dad left for an expedition and briefly returned 3 months later to give obscure gifts for Elliot's birthday, and then left to not be seen again until much, much later. The real turning point in Elliot's life was in 2718, when all of his brothers enlisted in the military to fight in the war that takes place during Titanfall. Since the house was quiet, Elliot spent most of his days tinkering with the holotech with his mother. One time they worked on a contract for SARAS, a humanitarian organization that was founded by Gibraltar's family. During this time, his mother made the hologram take the form of Elliot as a prank, but this fueled Elliot's passion for his self-replicating holograms. Unfortunately, this important moment in his life was made even more important, but in a not-so-happy way. A member of the Solus military was at the door to deliver news that the transport ship called the Crimson had crashed. This was the ship carrying Elliot's brother, and the entire crew on the ship was declared MIA. The loss of his brothers broke his mother, and Elliot tried to cheer her up by making holographic replicas of them. Unfortunately, this was not effective, and to make it worse, his mother started showing signs of dementia. Elliot worked various jobs and spent a great deal of cash to find out what happened to his brothers in the hopes that they could still be alive, but no matter how much he spent, he never found any new information. Eventually, Elliot bought his uncle's bar and named it the Paradise Dream in honor of his late brother Roger. Okay, so quick pause here. So I maybe sort of kinda neglected to mention something that is kinda important. So as I mentioned previously, Mirage's brothers all went to fight in the war, but his uncle and his uncle's best friend had also gotten into the war as well. Now fans of Titanfall 2 will recognize the names Davis and Draws. The two were part of a group called the 6-4, who were similar in many ways to the Apex Predators. Both teams were bounty hunters, however the 6-4 took jobs that lined up morally with its values, while the Apex Predators just worked for whoever paid the most. This is important because in one of the campaign missions, called the Ark, the 6-4 assists you in taking down the ship. This is also the mission where you kill the Apex Predator member named Viper, aka the father of another Apex Legends, Valkyrie. Davis and Draws would end up leaving the 6-4 for unknown reasons, but it's also probably worth mentioning that Draws is suspected to be a former IMC captain, since he shares a name and similarities with a character named Captain Draws from the first Titanfall game. Mirage was able to get his bar up and running with himself acting as a bartender. During one of the days when Mirage worked, he encountered Pathfinder, who was on a quest to find their creator. Mirage said that maybe joining the Apex games could help Pathfinder get famous, and maybe the creator would step forward and take credit for them. Elliot also wished for this, but ultimately decided against it because he couldn't bear to leave his mom all alone. However, this was basically pointless because his mother ended up giving him custom hologram devices and told him to go follow his heart. So that's how Mirage became Mirage and joined the Apex games. Mirage was in the game from the very start of when Apex Legends first launched back in 2019. He and Caustic were the first two unlockable characters in the game. Despite being there from the start, Mirage wouldn't really get any lore until Season 3 when Crypto was introduced. And by Crypto, I mean the character, not the currency. In the trailer for Season 3, Mirage and Crypto would start a competitive friendship where Mirage would call Crypto Kid and Crypto called Mirage Old Man. Later in Season 3, Mirage would acquire a yacht at an unknown time and call it the Mirage Voyage. The Mirage Voyage would be parked over the map World's Edge and used for the Legends to celebrate the holidays. During this time, you could find a voice recording in-game where Elliot talks to his mom and worries about her worsening condition.
Hey, well, isn't it the most beautiful woman in the world? I mean, I gotta get my good looks from somewhere. How you doing, Mom? Me, I'm perfect, as usual. Hey, get this. They asked me to take over the games for a bit during the holidays. It makes sense, you know, I mean, give the fine people of the Outlands what they want, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's right, Mom. Yeah, I'm your son. Elliot. Yeah, of course, don't worry. I'll win for you today, always for my #1 fan. Yeah, you go enjoy your pork chops. I know they're your favorite. I'm gonna go win a chance. I'm gonna go be the best. All right. Love you, Mom. Bye. What is REC? Oh no, how long has this been recording?
The next lore we got is pretty small but pretty humorous. In Season 5, Lobo joined the games and blackmailed the Legends into going on an artifact hunt for her. During this, the Legends wanted to know Loba's true motives and Mirage became the man in the chair. Later, Crypto would get framed, which would spiral into Mirage finding out that Crypto is older than him. So the two swap nicknames, and Crypto now being called Old Man and Mirage being called Kid. At the end of the hunt, the artifacts turned out to be the head of the former Apex Predator, Ash. Mirage would place her head on her body and she would reactivate. In Season 6, Rampart was introduced and she was brought into the Paradise Lounge to set up her shop. Mirage, despite being the owner, did not authorize this, but instead it was Wraith who noticed that the bar was not doing so well in the cash department, which goes to show that Mirage doesn't even win games in the official canon. Pathfinder also started to claim that he had a new girlfriend and Mirage saw an opportunity. Mirage made a bet with Rampart that if Pathfinder's girlfriend was not a, and I quote, a 5-alarm psycho train wreck, then Rampart could stay at the bar. The two would go to Pathfinder's home and meet an amnesiac Ash, who I personally would qualify as a 5-alarm psycho train wreck. But, you know, that's just me. Ash would suffer a power surge and the two returned to the bar where they pestered Wraith to ask who won the bet. Wraith declared both them losers and asked for them to learn to coexist. Now Mirage is a giant man-child, so he does what any man-child does, and loads all of Rampart's belongings onto the Mercenary Syndicate's rocket. Unknown to Mirage, though, was that rocket would simply never be seen again. Feeling bad for his actions, Mirage met up with Wraith to buy flowers for Rampart in order to make amends with his new roommate. While at the store, Mirage joked with his decoys and ended up calling Wraith a brain wreck, which she did not take kindly to this. Now pissing off both of his friends, Mirage truly felt bad for his actions. Luckily for him, his mother did work at the IMC as we previously mentioned, and the IMC is the organization that experimented on Wraith. So Mirage stayed up all night reading his mother's work files where he eventually finds one on Wraith. The file actually contained information on her birthday which was previously unknown to her. Mirage would then go give flowers to Path to help console him after Ash left him, and finally give a bouquet of wrenches to Rampart. How wholesome. Anyways, let's get to some life or death shit. In 2021, Dark Horse Comics teamed up with Apex Legends in order to create the mini comic series called Apex Legends Overtime. In issue 1, Crypto suffers a defeat in the Apex games, to which Mirage invites him to some free drinks at his bar. While there, Crypto meets with a client to get some intel contained inside a briefcase, but the client changes the deal and wants Crypto's protection instead of his money. Mirage then spots Revenant, who is ready to attack Crypto and his client in order to get the case. Mirage then jumps in and the two try their best to defeat Revenant before escaping with the client. Unfortunately, Revenant follows them and captures Crypto, with Mirage escaping with the case. In issue 4 of the series, the story continues with Mirage meeting up with Wraith, who witnessed presumably most of the action. The two open the briefcase and reveal it's actually an encrypted comms unit, which to me it just looks like a laptop with a handle, but I guess they do things differently in the year 2733. Back to Crypto being dragged by Revenant, where Crypto offers to pay Revenant more than whoever is paying him. Then Revenant says he isn't getting paid, but instead he will finally die if he finishes this job. Which, that just comes out of left field. All of a sudden, Mirage comes in with decoys trying to get in with Revenant to split the pay, which if only arrived sooner he would realize he would not want that pay. Then the man who hired Revenant in the first place arrives and is revealed to be Boss Willis, a syndicate official who was the one to hire Tae-Joon Park and Mila Alexander to create the cameras for the Apex games. After the two he hired stumbled onto files proving he's actually rigging the Apex games, he ordered for Mila to be kidnapped, causing Tae to become Crypto. Willis would then take the comms unit and unlock it, letting Crypto see Mila for a few seconds before closing it once again. All three legends would be taken onto Willis's ship, and Willis would instruct Revenant to push the rest out. Suddenly, Wraith used a portal into the ship, taking out the guards and breaking the ship. The ship would then crash into and subsequently level a hospital where the rest of the Apex Legends are. Everyone would survive the crash, and Willis would instruct Revenant to kill all of the Legends, otherwise Revenant will continue to live. Unfortunately for him, Revenant knows his limits and instead kills Willis. From here, Mirage lore is very few and far between until Season 9. In Season 7, Mirage glues Crypto's face to the floor and also gets a message from his mother thanking him for the flowers.
Oi, Mirage, it's Blisk, the Apex Commissioner, and holograms are now banned. Bamboozled you, honey. It's Mom. I got the flowers. I love marigolds. They're from our song. Oh, how beautiful they are. They're for someone's birthday. It says, "Happy birthday" on it. I'll check with my kids. I never know where they are nowadays. I don't have an answer. My brain's just... I think it's a thing. Whatever you call it. I heard this happens. It happens to people. I'm tired. I had a dream the other night. Everyone kept telling me I'm dying, except Uncle Droz. Miss my brother. And Davis. Oh, they always made me laugh. Like Elliot. He's celebrating his 2nd anniversary of competing in the games. Oh, and there's a girl, too. He started to talk about that. Oh, it's cute. He's grown up so fast. I'm looking at an old picture of Elliot when he was 10 or so. Thing. And next to him is his brother Elon, and Ricky, and Roger. They're beautiful. Call me when you get the chance. You're gonna go far, my little inchworm. I love you so much. Even with your silly hair. Happy anniversary, honey.
In the lore book called Pathfinder's Quest, Mirage gets a chapter dedicated to him and Pathfinder discussing Mirage's childhood in the Outland Civil War. In Season 9, Mirage accidentally crashes the Mirage Voyage into the planet Solus and avoids getting into a legal battle by having Ash obtain the crash site and use it as an arena for the Apex games. Then during the Legacy Anti-Gen quest, Rampart breaks the news that she has earned enough money to move out of Mirage's place. Mirage, who is already upset that he's fighting insane plants, gets more mad at her for springing this bad news on him now. Pathfinder eventually gets the two out of there, and Mirage and Rampart argue, with Mirage trying to girl boss, gatekeep, and most importantly gaslight Rampart. All of a sudden, Mirage's mom, who was visiting, yells at Mirage, and does the whole mother thing of teaching him a life lesson. Rampart and Pathfinder leave for that part, understandably, cause I wouldn't want to be there anyways. Mirage takes his mother's advice to heart, and his mother also tells him that his father is back. But Mirage doubts this and just assumes that his mother's dementia is acting up again. Later, he meets back with Rampart and asks her to stay, but gets very frustrated with his feelings about the subject until he realizes that Rampart reminds him of when his brothers were still around. Seriously, can someone get this man a therapist? From season 10 to 12, literally nothing lore-wise happens that involves Mirage in any important sense. That is, until we get to season 13's launch trailer and the story. In the launch trailer, Mirage and all of the legends had gathered at Mirage's bar in order to celebrate Bangalore's retirement and also meet the new legend, Newcastle. In the story for season 13, Mirage and Wraith overhear Newcastle on the phone with an unknown person asking how to wire his money for winning the Apex games to them. Knowing that the Paradise Lounge has regulars from Harris Valley, Newcastle's hometown, the two investigate to see if they can figure out what's going on. Mirage would eventually talk to a mercenary at his bar from Harris Valley, who not only was revealed to be a member of a gang called the Forgotten Families, but also revealed said gang to be the one blackmailing Newcastle. The man also revealed that when the gang isn't blackmailing people, they torture and kill IMC deserters. Now, this was one of the worst things to say at that point because, well, Wraith was about to make that man's body become more pieces than the world map Lego set. Luckily for him though, she for some reason let him live. The two left the bar believing that not only Newcastle was in trouble but also Bangalore, since she was very invested in this mysterious stranger. Wink wink, nudge nudge. Wraith and Mirage got to a warehouse where the Forgotten Families gang was ready to intercept Newcastle to take his winnings, only to find Bangalore brawling with them. The three teamed up and fought mobsters. One of them had a gauntlet and recognized Wraith, who he promptly tried to kill. Mirage saved Wraith but was injured. After the fight, Bangalore and Wraith started arguing, to which Mirage broke up the fight and tried to encourage Wraith by pointing out the guy with the gauntlet might be a key to her still very unknown past. After all of the warehouse shenanigans, Mirage investigates the Forgotten Families and finds many files on them and even some on the man with the gauntlet. Mirage would take these files and give them to Wraith for her to do some personal investigation. And that is all we have so far. Now as it stands, I'm hoping to get this video out on the day season 14 releases to not only get some of those sweet views from the event, but so I can also keep it as up to date as possible. If any more lore has come out since this video is published, I'm sorry, I can't tell the future, and if I could, I'd be betting on sports games and playing the stock market instead of spending 2 months making a video about a fictional man-child with trauma. If you'd like to see any more complete lore videos about Apex characters or even Valorant, I'm not sure if Valorant does have lore, but I've been getting into that and it's kinda similar to Apex Legends, so if you want to see that or any other video game with lore, and hell, maybe you'll get lucky and I might even make a video about a comic book again, who knows. For now, make sure to like the video because I need the validation, comment because I need the algorithm to like me, and subscribe because I need the algorithm to like me. Final thing is to follow me on social medias. All the links are in the description. We can also find @Kevin Comics, who helped design and draw all of these expressions I have on this like PNG VTuber thing I got going on. Not quite sure what I'm doing with that. I just do things with it.